Welcome to the GunChallenge.com lobby chat.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
And have ourselves a treat.
Let's all go to the lobby. Get baby in the lobby. So let's all go to the lobby to get the treat. Let's all go to the
All right, G-Webs. I think
Let's
we all
go
went
to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a snack.
See, Snooki, you're not the only one that can sing on air.
you crackly heavy.
I'll be back.
No. Is that the mouth harp?
So, anyways, the whole thing about the straw purchases and whatnot, like we were talking off air. I mean, I agree that it's
You
dumb.
were using straw purchases off air? What?
we were talking about straw purchases. And
I admitted nothing, G. You can't frame me.
what is? And
I
what
don't
is.
admit to anything.
I was just talking the way the law's written and how I disagree with it, because the whole point of it is supposed to be catching people that are purposefully getting around a background check by having someone else buy them a gun. That's the stated intent. However, the way the law is written, it's if you're acting as an agent for anybody, whether they're legal to own or not. And the example I used in the thing was, let's say you're going to the gun show and your buddy has to work, and he says, "Hey man, I've really been looking for, a blah blah blah, whatever.
A
If you happen
K31.
to see one, pick one up for me and I'll give you the money." That is a straw purchase. Now, the likelihood of them proving that in court is probably pretty low unless they recorded that conversation you had before you went to the gun show. But technically, it is still breaking the law. And I think that that's dumb. So I think they should at least rewrite the law to say, if you're acting as an agent for someone, restricted from owning guns, then it's a straw purchase. Like that's
Or,
they just have
fuck
to
the
add one
Brady
more
Bill
thing
and
in
get rid
there.
of that shit, but
What was that, Carlos? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
or just fuck the Brady Bill and just get rid of that background check bullshit.
Well, that'd be fine too, but I think more,
I'd rather get rid of the Hughes Amendment first and then the Brady Bill.
well, let's get rid of all of them. But I'm just saying, realistically,
Yours is far more realistic, I admit.
yeah, it's something that could be done, especially when it's not
I'll be right back.
helping anything.
Well, it's actually been proven to be an issue now, right? There's now court cases where people have been burned on that who otherwise are totally innocent people,
Right. It's someone who can buy a gun, buying a gun for someone else who can buy a gun. He just happens to either have a better price or, like I said, like the gun show thing, one person has the day off work, the other one has to work, or, whatever. They're driving somewhere to, like a big store that there's only one in the state. And it's like, oh, if you're going down there anyways, pick this up for me because I don't feel like driving 2 hours, that kind of crap. You can't
be like
do
if I was
that.
going
It
to
just-
J&G up north and I'm like, oh, if I see something, I'll pick it up for you. It's a 7-hour drive. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that that's bullshit because the so-called crime that they're trying to stop or the problem they're trying to solve is people with a clean record buying a gun for someone with a dirty record. And that is a straw purchase. And I'm actually okay with them going after people like that because that's, keeping criminals from getting guns theoretically. Now, I don't think it works. I think people just do it anyways. But if you catch them after the fact, at least now you can, prosecute someone for it. So maybe you'd be less likely to do it for your friend if you know it's going to get you in trouble.
that's the other thing that really burned my ass about that court case, right? Is in the last, how many years, they've prosecuted 5 people for lying on 4473s. How many people get bounced back as felons on 4473? And they've prosecuted 5. And one of those is because the guy was an agent for his brother-in-law or father-in-law, and they were both legal. It's like they prosecuted more innocent people than, people actually doing the wrong thing. It's bullshit. So that's they're not even using that law for its purpose. They're just using that law to burn gun owners.
Right, because well, and here's the thing: you almost don't even need the law because it's already against the law to knowingly transfer or sell a gun to a felon. So when you do the straw purchase, again,
When you
this
give
is
the gun to them, you're already breaking the law.
right. You break the law when you sell it to them, and you just also broken the law when you bought it from the FFL because you lied on the 4473.
And also, the government
gray
uses
area in
bullshit to
that.
just. Oh, go ahead, Flips.
I don't know. I'm just saying there's gray area in that because you could say theoretically same day buy a gun, be like, yeah, this is the greatest gun ever, and then the second you get home, be like, this is kind of retardo.
Or your wife could burn your ass when you get home. Like, the fuck you buy? Like,
Yeah, and then you go, well, I now need to sell it, and then you instantly go post, and the first person comes to you is like, yo, I want this gun. It's like, cool. Here you go. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter
there's
that you're a
nothing
felon.
wrong with that. You didn't do anything wrong in that way.
Yeah, but if the person turns out to be a felon. Well, it also depends on where you're at. Because in Texas, if the person turns out to be a felon, well, bad for the felon, not bad for you.
Yeah, if you don't
You have
know,
no way of
that's the
knowing.
thing. If the person responds to your ad saying, "Hey, dude, I want this gun. By the way, I'm a felon," and you go through with it, then you're in trouble because you knowingly still sold it to a felon. But if it's just a person's like, "I'd like to buy this," you say, "Okay," and you sell it to them. It's not your fault that they're a felon. They're the one breaking the law, not you.
I still ask for a CCW or a pistol purchase permit in Nebraska when I do a gun sale, but
You can't go that far. You have to. It's your obligation to know that you're not selling. Well, to think that you're not selling to a felon. So I would say you're obligated to some extent to say something like, "You're legal to own this," and if they go, "Yeah," by lying to you, it's their bad. If they say no, then you would not proceed with the sale. But you're not under any obligation to do research, and you don't have any ability to do research. But you can't just say, let's meet in silent at the Pizza Hut parking lot, and then I will hand you a gun and you hand me money, and we will not talk at all. You don't have to do that.
Oh,
So
why
you
would
you
are
make an
required
attempt
to
at
make
that point?
efforts. I guess I could see that.
You are,
mean,
as a seller,
yeah.
required to not sell it to a felon. Now, you also aren't obligated to know anything, but you should probably at least go, "You legal to own this?" Or like, if the guy looks like really weird, then you might want to ask some question. But
Oh, that's profiling. You shouldn't do that. That's wrong.
no, you should probably not be shamed for being aware of a weird situation. And if something's outside the normal parameters, again, you've got some obligation to at least probe. And if the guy's like, "None of your business, fuck off," you can still choose to sell it to him. It's not like I'm saying, there's no obligation, but I don't want, you made it sound like, there's a loophole. Like, as long as you don't say nothing, then you can sell it to anybody you want. I mean, it's none of our goal to sell it to a felon.
Well, it's
just,
what a reasonable person would surmise. So it
Yeah.
basically comes down to what a reasonable and prudent person would do.
and what you've got resources for. So again, you can ask to look at a driver's license. I don't think you should be persecuted if you fail to. And
Well,
if the
by
person,
law here in Texas, you have to look at the driver's license because you can't make a private sale to someone who is not from the state.
oh, okay, there you go.
See, and that's I guess I don't have any personal experience in this. I've never sold a gun, but I think if I ever were to, I mean, the first step would be I'd probably sell it to friends and family just because the likelihood of me being able to shoot that gun later in the future is high.
Yeah.
So if I sell the gun to my buddy and then I get to shoot it every once in a while, it's like I didn't even lose it. But secondly, if I did sell to the public, I think I would also be like, hey, like I only sell to people with carry permits. And that's just my own personal thing. I mean, I don't think you have to, but for me, it would make I'd sleep better knowing, okay, they at least went through that step. So, they're probably not a felon.
Well, yeah, it just covers your ass more, right? Like, if you can sell to a guy with a CCW or a guy who doesn't have a CCW, you just feel like, no, you've covered your ass. So,
See, where I stood on the whole thing when I sold, because I've sold and traded several guns to several different people and whatnot. And the last gun I got rid of was a revolver, and it was
Yeah, good story. I wonder if he knows he just like cut out.
He's probably still talking if he doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm saying it.
Lippy, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, he'll figure it out.
So we were talking a little bit about Yankees thing and bullet technology, and this gets to my point. The government just trying to screw gun owners again. Was when I saw that that order, all I saw was they know that they're going to try and ban lead and say you can't use lead in your bullets, but then they know there's laws on the books that say if it's not lead, it's armor piercing, and they're going to try and ban all ammo with a two-step process. That was like my tinfoil hat thought when I.
And when it comes to that, I thought
it's only a
I've seen
specific.
regulations. I thought I have seen regulations about 100% copper bullets and 100% have to be approved by the ATF before
the ATF
these companies can sell.
So they
So
won't
they're putting
approve brass for handguns, but they'll approve copper for handguns, as far as I understand. And then the brass for rifles is okay, obviously. Because the Underwood ammo, right? They don't sell any of their Underwood ammo in brass for handgun. They only sell Underwood copper ammo or the Lehigh Defense or whatever that company is.
Yeah, I just know I've seen regulations like that out there that make it harder on them to actually come up with new rounds. You know, if they're limited to certain materials.
Well, that's what I was also showing in Matt's chat. Was like the periodic table, like they have in that law, it's right. It's like, okay, so we have copper and we have lead bullets. You can't use stuff that are steel alloys already. That's armor piercing. You can't use really anything heavier than lead on the periodic table because that's all going to do the same heavy metal poisoning that the environmentalists A, don't like, and B, some of those elements are also considered armor piercing, like your bismuth or uranium or all that shit. So it's like, what do you leave left? You know? I'm like, there's not there are some, like, I don't know, like somebody said tungsten, maybe nickel. I don't know if you can do nickel bullets or, you know, some sort of other alloy like that. But it's not like a straightforward, like, oh, we'll just start making bullets out of this shit. You know, like you're not gonna use platinum. It's, you know, too expensive. You use silver or gold unless you're Yankee. So, you know, that, and then it's like, what are you gonna make bullets out of? I don't see it.
Steel.
Well, we can't put steel in handguns. Right? That's already armor piercing. We'd have to change the law to be able to do that, which I'm all for if we can do that, but we can't just now say, well, we're switching to that because the EPA did this bullshit.
How ideal is that, though? Like, oh, the EPA says we can't use lead, or they're growling about lead and blah, 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 lead in the environment, and we feel bad, so change the fucking law so that we can start using inexpensive renewable steel, recyclable steel, and then we're using jackets, so who cares? We just make jackets a little thicker, put metal in there.
I'm all for that. Like, if we can change the law and get these bullshit armor piercing, like, bullshit, like, you know, 90s, you know, scare tactics off the book, I'm all for that. I'm just saying from a technical perspective, what elements and or alloys are out there that we can use?
Well, there's probably quite a few, but let me just read, because I pulled up their definition for armor piercing, and it's defined as any projectile or projectile core that may be used in a handgun, which that's new wording because it used to say designed for a handgun, but anyways, and that is constructed entirely from one or a combination of tungsten alloys, steel, iron, brass, bronze, beryllium, copper, or depleted uranium. So it has to be made up entirely of those or a combination of those.
Yeah, so you can't wrap tungsten in a lead bullet and say, oh, it's fine because you saw like a tungsten penetrator. I get that. But, all right, so let's do the science. Like, she blinded me with it, right? So if we go to Google and just do periodic table, and obviously chemistry and metallurgy is not the field of science that I'm an expert in, but we can just kind of screw around. Screen share and walk onto that, right? So well, let's just say first, right? So lead is bad. Lead is heavy metals. That's why I don't like that shit. So you're not going to use bismuth, polonium, You know, you're not going to use anthonides and lactonides. All this shit's heavy metals. That's all bad for the environment to, you know, get heavy metal poisoning. Okay, so basically 81 and up, and obviously you have to stay in this range here in these transition metals. You're not going to use gases, and you're not going to use, you know, pure lithium.
I think a helium bullet would be pretty cool.
Yeah, a liquid nitrogen bullet. I saw that in a movie one time. So, I mean, there are some things here maybe. I mean, some of these things might be too hard for your barrel, right? You're not going to have like a chromium bullet that would like tear your barrel up. Same with like prime manganese. But like iron, okay, so that's already in the law as a no-go. Cobalt, okay, maybe. Some sort of nickel cobalt alloy, okay, I could maybe see that. Copper, we're already making shit out of that. Zinc, maybe. Zinc's pretty soft.
Fine.
I don't know. You know, some of these things, I don't know if these things work that way. You know,
Is it Wolf or is it Tula who's making like zinc coated bullets or something?
that's their jackets. Yeah, they're putting. They stopped using like copper. That's like their. You know, you get the bullets now, and they have like that silver look to them, right? That zinc.
Yeah, that zinc.
jacket. So
Looks
I
like
mean,
you
if
should
you
be
could do a
killing
whole
werewolves.
bullet out of zinc. Yeah, maybe you could do that.
Yeah, you're looking at that menu as if we just can pick from the menu. That's a menu of options, but it's not the market, like what's available. So one of the reasons we use lead is because it's easy to acquire and deal with and that kind of thing. So some
Well,
of these
historically, it was easy to work, right? Lead's soft. You can mold it into shapes.
available though. You don't find like zinc mines very often and other kind of mines. You know, if you're just looking at the elements that exist, that's theoretical. There aren't big pits full of all these metals, so that's why we use some of the ones that we use, copper and lead. These other ones are rare enough that we'll never be able to afford to mass produce them into bullets.
Yeah, you're not going to make a technium bullet, right? Like it's created in the lab. You're not going to make silver and gold. You're not going to use mercury.
Any of that stuff down there is too expensive to even touch. So I'm going to say go up to steel, and big deal if it's a law, then you just change law. And then otherwise going up to silicon up there and making things out of ceramic, which is super available.
I mean, yeah, you start getting some compounds, some synthetic
But
compounds.
if you did that, would that be
We
too
use the
hard?
ballistic coefficient of lead all the time. So we make projectiles based on their wind resistance and their like ability to pick up a cross draft, and then their density, and then their ability to stay together out there. So we do that off of lead because we use lead, but that doesn't mean that's the only things that it can wing really far.
That's fair. You know, I'm just saying if you're going to stick with some sort of traditional alloy, it's going to have to be in this group here, right? This is shit you can afford to mine. You know, we make shit out of this.
But that's
But
why I'm
if-
probably going to end up being aluminum, steel, or copper, or some blend of them, ones that we use for everything.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, we could make some sort of like, you know, borosilicates or borocarbides or whatever, you know, some like crazy shit, but that's probably going to be cost prohibitive too. So that's
I
sort
don't
of
know.
thing.
Putting a bunch of bullets into out of some sort of ceramic seems perfect to me. I mean, making little freaking.
But is the ceramic? See, that's the other problem. If the ceramic is harder than the steel,
Put it in a
you'll
copper
blow
jacket.
your barrel out super quick.
Yeah, you put it in a copper jacket, just like we do now.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that. So the copper is the one that actually engages the rifling, so it's not going to hurt it anymore.
Yeah, and it works with the cases and everything. So basically, it's the same. It's just that we replace what's inside there and we change our loads out or something. Maybe we get new calibers that aren't stupid metric calibers.
So anyway, that was what I was, we were talking about that a little bit during chat. So.
Compressed sand, MIM sand.
Yeah, I
graphite bullets.
I think the polymer thing is pretty.
Oh, graphite's not a
promising.
bad idea, actually. Well, the problem with graphite is it's highly flammable. So if it burnt through your, I don't know what the combustion temperature of graphite is, but that's why Chernobyl blew up, right? Like they were using graphite-based cooling, and that shit's super, super combustible. It's just carbon. So that might be scary.
This is the thing, though. You make it like an M&M. You just like dip it in polymer, like copper or some crap.
That's not how combustion works, though. I mean, that's the problem, right? Is even if it's jacketed, it's a critical temperature. It's not like you like have to touch it with fire. It gets too hot.
Well, then coat it in asbestos or something.
That's good for the environment too.
Coat it in lead.
Yeah. I don't know. What's some other material? Like, what's that stuff the M&Ms are made out of? Sugar? Coat it in sugar.
Unobtainium.
The hopes and dreams of James Cameron and all of his millions. Coat it in that.
Well, I also like the idea of coating everything in like powder coat or polymer and getting away from copper jackets. I mean, that's 1890s technology. So
it is. And it's like steampunk technology that we keep hard, like, and it's laws that keep us here.
Can you grow a cocoa bush?
So they're saying that the polymers would be too light, and again, why are we? The reason we have bullets the size we got them is from the olden days and stuff. Why aren't we making airsoft size things that are lethal?
But tinier bullets?
Tiny bullets, yeah. That you can put lots of them in there. New different propulsion things. If the bullet gets really small because it doesn't need the mass anymore, you got some way to power it.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just because of antiquity, you know, in guns. Like the fact that we use brass cases, right? I mean, that's based on the machining tolerances of 1890s. They had to use a soft metal that would expand in the chamber and create a seal. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, you know, that could be innovated on. It's just what's affordable and, you know, technologically feasible.
Well, you got people that experimenting with polymer cases.
Steel as well, over those polymer and steel, softer steels that they're using or talking about that you can don't expand. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely tons of steel case out there in the world, and it seems to work okay.
Depends on the gun. The main issue with steel is the fact that you have to coat it in something, and that coating, when it gets hot, gets sticky.
There was something recently I saw, I forget what it was. I don't know what steel or what kind of metal it was that they're talking. It's a metal, not copper, that they're using for casings that could be easily reloaded. It's a whole different concept.
What about aluminium? Would aluminium work, or would that, for a case, would that be too?
Well, they have that. They have like federal aluminum case. I don't like it. I've had it crack in chambers. It has like that like amount it can expand before it basically pops is less than other stuff. And I've had aluminum crack in chambers and get stuck. It's a bitch to get out.
What about aluminium coating something? Like, I don't know, aluminium coating steel.
I don't see why we couldn't make aluminum bullets. I think that might work. I mean,
there's this one company like they were talking about earlier, or someone was talking about earlier, that uses polymer that you can basically reload by hand without any components. You just put it only accepts a amount of powder, and then you can put the projectile in with like basically your hand or a mallet or for what it is, and it only goes so far. I forget the company I was researching. They're trying to get
Polycase,
something like that, but it wasn't. It was a brand. They were trying to get funding, and I don't think it went past that. It looked cool, and I saw their videos when they shot it.
Well, that stuff's polymer coated lead, is it not? Or are you saying it's 100% polymer?
No, the casing's polymer.
Oh, you're talking casing, not projectile. All right.
I saw one company release that, but I thought they had to like recall it because they were having like failures in guns. Like it was like almost there, but like not quite ready.
What we really need to do is just invest more into H&K and their caseless ammo.
Well, it's an interesting thought, right? I mean, just think about it, like to G's point and to this point, like if you could replace the jacket on the bullet or the bullet itself with something lighter than lead and just push it at higher velocity, you could replace your case with polymer. Think how much lighter your guns would be. You're taking a whole bunch of heavy metals out of your gun and replacing them with lighter stuff. That'd be so fucking awesome from just like an innovation standpoint. How much lighter would your gun be?
Personally, you being a Star Wars guy, I was about your avatar. I'm really trying to work on my Jedi skills to learn chain lightning. So I don't even need a gun. I just fuck people up all day.
You know, chain lightning isn't a Jedi skill. That's actually a Sith skill, right?
Well, you can learn because Yoda had it too.
No, he didn't. Yoda was just redirecting what Palpatine was doing.
I actually looked into this once, and they said that it was the Jedi skills, a video about it, and they said that not only is the chain lightning not on the Jedi side, it's also on the Sith side. It's also on the Jedi side too. It's
But
just
the Jedi lightning only stuns; it doesn't harm.
Edge's
Darth Vader.
Edge's plan is to become a Jedi and then go over to the dark side, learn chain lightning, but then psych the dark side out by going back to the good side.
That's right. And then I'm just like, fuck all you, because I'll fry your ass like fried.
I'm the only Jedi that knows the dark side magics, so now I can rule both sides. So
I mean, well, that's what Revan did. Revan was a gray Jedi.
So
Also, we're going down a horrifyingly nerdy path, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull out before it gets bad. So,
fake.
Where's Smeggy?
Has pulling out worked out for you?
I don't have any kids, so yeah.
Why are we asking me? What's going on?
Oh, Flippy was just talking about how he had to pull out before things went bad.
What does that have to do with me?
You were offering stuff up at the end of the chat.
Magic snow.
What? Okay, so you guys are just being weird. I'm gonna go back to ignoring you.
Dead air, my old friend.
You killed it. Only a ninja can destroy a ninja.
Is that from Three Ninjas?
Now it's a Shoku's guy, pray for death or something like that. One of the ones.
What was that old movie from the 90s called? Was it Three Little Ninjas, or was it just called Three Ninjas?
Surf Ninjas.
No, not Surf Ninjas. The other one. Also, what was up with like the 80s and the 90s being like the years of the ninja?
You're talking to one in the chat. G-Webs is a ninja. He just doesn't like to fucking advertise it.
Mouth ninja.
It's like someone's playing the Spider-Man theme song from like the cartoon.
now you got
I
Maul.
like Three Ninjas. Tum Tum.
You got
Oh,
Maul.
yeah, that
Ninja.
was Three Ninjas. Yeah,
Yeah.
that movie was great.
Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum.
Yeah.
Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily.
Didn't they start a band, Hanson?
What?
I don't know. They started a podcast called Hit or Miss on Tuesday nights.
I don't think so. I don't believe I am a ninja.
Honestly, I didn't want to say this, but Never Enough Ammo is actually, he doesn't like to say it, but he's the fourth member of the Hansons.
Bop. Ooh, bop. Yeah, I don't know any of that.
He was a North American tour manager. Did you guys watch the Trump last night?
I only saw the ending. How was it?
He basically walked over to Nancy Pelosi and slapped the shit out of her face in front of everybody, and they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" Even the Democrats fucking stood up and fucking were cheering. Fuck that bitch.
I heard that he extended the olive branch a bunch of times last night.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, like I haven't watched it. How long was it? Like, can you give me a too long didn't read sort of summary?
It was an hour and 8 minutes.
Would it be illegal for us to watch it in here, or would that violate the toss or something?
That's like public access, right? Is it
I
like
think
public?
it's public access now. You probably could watch it in here.
Is Pink in here? Oh no, he could be right back.
Well, he threw a shit at the gun. Gun channels. I love gun channels. No better place than gun channels. Let me tell you, gun channels is great. He said it. I was like, God damn.
Making the internet great again.
Yeah, we're gonna make America great again with gun channels. Let me tell you, the great guys over there, especially Edge. I'm like, oh shit, come on, guy, don't do that to me. Putting me on blast in front of the fucking whole country. God damn.
Only a little.
Let it run out right there.
You see where he introduced the widow of that SEAL that died? She got a standing ovation.
4 minutes. Yeah, longest in history. And then they were just calling him out. Yeah, he even pointed out that, the longest, it's going to be a memory in history. And I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Obama did the same thing with several people that, people in Afghanistan still on, they had next to him and all kinds of shit. Everybody does it and whatever, but he honored the memory of her fallen husband. I mean, the one thing I hear about is that the dad of the dude is like calling them out saying, I want an investigation into this stupid fucking his first month and as president and he got my son killed. Your son was a freaking Navy SEAL, dude. I mean,
well, yeah, because Dad even refused to meet with Trump at the airfield.
That's fine. That's fine if you refuse to meet with him, but calling an investigation. Your son was a Navy SEAL. I mean, he wasn't a motor pool mechanic, guy. His shit is. I mean, they lost people in Grenada. They lost people in Afghanistan. They lost people, and I was at Red Wing operation like crazy, and people just respected the fact that their sons died honorably, hopefully, and helping support the country and whatever missions they needed. And that shit Dad's doing. I respect his son's loss, but calling the president out on because he thinks he was a novice at this job, whatever, dude. That's ridiculous. What do you think your son was doing? He was on vacation in fucking the raid wherever.
What did you're saying the dad of a SEAL called Trump out for something?
Yeah, the SEAL died, whose wife got the standing ovation. The dad is like trying to like, we need to investigate. This was like shady, or he's basically trying to like flame out on the whole thing.
He's basically saying that I can't stand the fact that my son died in some bogus raid and some fucking rookie president just got in there and my son died basically for nothing. And for a shitty mission.
I can't imagine like how much like what does he think his son would say to him if he was here, or could like see him saying that. I feel like I'm no Navy SEAL, but I feel like his son would be like, I was doing my duty and that's part of the risk.
Well, dude, if you ever seen that video where Marcus Luttrell was on like Fox and Friends, and I forget that douchebag that's on there. Not Brian, the one guy with the brown hair, and he asked him, Marcus Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell lit his ass up. So after like the whole Lone Star, the movie shit, he asked him, so how do you feel being on a mission? He said, how do you feel being on a mission that at the end of the day didn't really accomplish anything? It was a bad mission. And he looked at him. What the fuck did you say to me? Oh, you didn't say what the fuck, but you basically called him out. Hell, you say to me, we don't choose our missions. We go and we do what we're told to do. Every mission is important no matter what we do. And for you to say that mission was, you're belittling that mission that we had, we don't have a choice. We do what we got to do when we take care of business. And for you to say that to me, he got really in his face about it. Kill me, or whatever the fuck his name is. And he got in his face about it. And he completely didn't want to, no, I didn't mean to insult you. You just fucking did. And he was holding back too, because he had a whole lot to say to him. And that was like one of the most embarrassing moments of Fox and Friends back in the day. And Marcus Luttrell lit his ass up. I mean, I don't have any say so on the mission I go on. I just do the best I can, and what I'm afforded. And when we kick ass, and it's the same situation, with the way their dad's going about it. Like, come on now, your son wasn't, in the motor pool or riding a desk. He was a fucking operator, and
your son wasn't a diplomat in a foreign country asking for aid.
And that moment, when Trump basically honored him, his memory, and his wife's loss, it was fucking classic. And man, poor thing, man. I saw her and the way she was looking. She was a beautiful woman. On top of that, she's looking at the sky, like basically saying, I love you, baby. The way she was doing, I was like, yeah, I felt bad for her. And Michael Moore and all these other dumbasses are politicizing it, and so on. That one guy got fired who made that tweet saying that she's an idiot for doing it because Trump's using her. He got fired from his job at some consulting left-wing think tank.
Yeah, people are being like overly vicious about all this stuff too, which is like actually ridiculous. Granted, this might be rose-colored glasses and all that jazz, but I don't remember things being this vile towards Obama, even on the most, like even on the right side of everything.
Well, you couldn't. I mean, they were tough on him. I mean, the Fox and a lot of right wing correspondents were that favored, more conservative values. But
Well, I mean, not to the level where they're insulting his wife or his children.
They wouldn't cross the line for sure. Because, I mean, you couldn't, because you would be labeled a racist and, and this and that.
I feel like the worst that came, that like people said about Obama, that I would say was like unprofessional, and that's even, whatever, it was like the birther stuff. But I feel like everything has already far surpassed any birther conspiracies.
Yeah, and that birther thing wasn't really, I wouldn't even say that would be a horrifying big deal.
Well, but that was one of the dynamics that kept any actual critique of Obama and his policy, or Obama and his ability or anything. It was always diluted because of that. And again, you had a media who has an agenda, and they have people that they like and don't like. Obviously, they liked Obama, and they didn't want to report on any valid criticism of his ability or his decisions. So they focused on the outlandish birther shit, because they felt that that had no real teeth, and that it would make the people who oppose Obama look like extremists and radicals and grasping at straws. So if there would have been any kind of violent bullshit, weird shit, I'm sure they would have jumped at it. So I suspect that you guys are right. There wasn't anything on the anti-Obama, because I wouldn't call it our side. We didn't, I mean, might not have liked Obama, but he's still our president kind of shit for the most part. But if there would have been like any radical violent shit going on because of Obama, they would have reported on it. They didn't have that, and they couldn't artificially, at least they didn't artificially create it. So they stirred the waters up, or muddied the waters with that whole birther shit. And remember, there was other stuff, like his inability to have any, or his inexperience and his inability to like deal with some of that first shit. Like his whole thing was Guantanamo Bay or whatever.
Yeah, closing Guantanamo Bay, which is still open.
If you go back to the whole birther thing, that came out of his own party, did it not? Wasn't it Clinton who started that?
Hillary started it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did, and yeah, Hillary did start it.
It was definitely like an anti-Obama thing, and they could laugh at it. So of course they're going to promote it as being like, "This is the best they got." Like, come on, this is the best they got.
I wasn't saying from the aspect of like, it wasn't a bad thing because of that. I was saying it wasn't a bad thing because saying I don't think you were born in America isn't really like a horrifying insult.
One of my biggest issues with Obama was that from the get-go
it was basically mild, really laughable.
Whereas the stuff that they're hitting Trump with is actually pretty vile.
Sure, but one of the biggest things I had with Obama from the get-go is that he was always going on his way to like just extend courtesies to people from other countries instead of focusing on the people that were in this country, like per se the Muslims. And it's like, oh, we got to be ultra nice to them because we need to show them we have an admiration for Muslims in this country. Why? There's other religions all over this country and all over the world, and you need to be ultra nice to them. Why? I mean, if you want to, and that's what I love about Trump. What he said is like, I'm not the president of the world. I'm president of the United States, and I'm going to focus on the United States and their needs. If you're a Muslim and you want to come to the States, well, assimilate. Get to know what our culture is. Don't when you go to fucking another country, it's the same thing. But yet his over 8 years was this whole thing that he would just refuse to admit that there is a problem with some of the Islamic culture that has hatred towards the West. Some of it, not all of it. And he would just say, I can't go there because it's bad mojo. I just can't do that, and it's bad press and whatever. And it's just ridiculous, dude. Extending and bending over backwards to help to bring somebody into the States. Really don't want to become a part of the American culture. They just want to bring their values over here and proceed. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that's
basically what you're trying to. I'm trying to sum this up because it's a lot. What you're trying to say is they're coming over to take the benefits without changing their system to fit more with ours.
He's trying to say Obama was down with that or something.
Yeah, he definitely was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because they changed the
time, they
variable,
wouldn't
right?
even
Because they
say,
said like you're not being sensitive to their culture if you know, oh, you expect them to assimilate, then you just might you're racist against their culture. You don't like their culture. It's like no, it's the melting pot, not the salad bowl. You know.
Well, I also don't like their culture. Or at least very specific aspects of their culture.
But if people came over here and they assimilated, and their culture and our culture is mixed, right? It's not like the whole culture is bad. If they were able to fix those parts of their culture and assimilate into Western society, it wouldn't be like an undoable task.
Oh, well,
what's the salad bowl? What's the melting pot in the salad bowl? I haven't heard that before.
The melting pot is, everybody in America comes over here and we're Americans, and I eat Mexican food, I eat Chinese food, I celebrate whatever holidays I want to celebrate versus the salad bowl is you come here, but you don't assimilate, you just form a little enclave of your people, you don't learn the language, you don't talk with anybody outside of, your country of origin who just all happen to live in your same neighborhood. So instead of having America the melting pot, you have America the salad bowl, where nobody's mixed. You're just your own little group, and you don't participate in America.
Okay, I haven't heard that before. Thanks.
I agree with that completely. And but I mean, it's all these people. They're like, for instance, like you hear about honor killings. When there's this Middle Eastern person that doesn't like the fact that their daughter was dating a black dude or didn't marry somebody that within their culture, some kind of arranged marriage within their culture in the United States, and they go and kill their daughter, or the brother does, and there's an honor killing today, and they don't make a big stink about it. It's like, well, it happened. I'm like, well, that's a pretty big issue if it's
happened in the United States and it's going unreported. Nobody's worrying about it.
It's happened many times. I'm not giving a number. I don't have one, but it's been reported, but it's not been like, well, it's not been reported to the point where like, how could this happen here? It's just been like, well, it's like somebody got robbed the 7-Eleven down the street.
In the United States, you believe that there's people being killed for honor killings, and when the police are told about it, they go, yeah.
Well, they handle it and they process it, but the way my point
doesn't get out into the media.
It's the way it's being reported is like, well, it's the same thing as somebody ripping off a 7-Eleven and getting away caught.
Well, you seriously think that part of the murders numbers from like Detroit or Chicago or one of these country cities that has actual murder numbers, that some of that is these cultural killings of people for cultural reasons?
I think it's unreported to the extent of what's happening. I don't have any numbers to throw at you.
If it's not reported, it doesn't exist, and how do you know that it's actually a thing?
It is reported, but it's not reported in the mainstream because they're afraid to sit there and go after, to be labeled as, they'll mention it on occasion on local news, but it doesn't make national news that some guy in New York.
In big numbers, large numbers, like many people are being killed in these ritualistic cultural reasons.
I just think it's being played down. It's
happening in big numbers and it's being played down. So you seriously think that there's human beings with social security numbers in this country and they just disappear, and then when people come to investigate, how did this person just not show up anymore? Right? Are they paying their taxes?
Not at all. My point is that it's not being reported as other things are being reported that get news attention.
He's saying it's getting reported as a murder or something. Police come investigate a murder, guy gets taken to jail, but people aren't saying that was an honor killing because of a cultural thing. They may say, it was a fight and it was a crime of passion, it was second-degree murder, but they're not saying, well, what happened was it was a fight because she came home with a guy who was XYZ race or XYZ religion, and dad got mad and honor killed her because she was having sex out of wedlock.
I was asking if they're off the record. You're saying that they're on the record, that these people did exist, and now there's record of them being killed by somebody else, but they're saying that it was all justifiable, blah, blah, blah story they made up. So then if you that this happens a lot, then shouldn't you be able to provide any kind of evidence from any part of the country where there's a lot of Muslims, where there's a whole shit ton of their females being killed accidentally, or with with circumstances that were deemed justifiable?
I think it's happened before on occasion, but I don't think it's an epidemic.
I'm not saying it's an epidemic.
Well, no, he's not saying it's epidemic. What he's saying is it's getting downplayed in the media, where it's like,
come on. Then what's the difference between that and some just weird ass fuck who kills his daughter and who ain't Muslim? Because that's what we're talking about, is weird ass fucks who would want to kill their own kids, right? So what does it matter if it's not happening on any kind of epidemic scale? Then what does it matter if the people happen to be Muslim, or if they happen to be a fucking redneck, or they happen to be something else, or some other color, or some other part of the country?
Because the people the media is afraid to get into it or really publicize it, because they don't want to cross that line of being labeled anti.
I say let's see some evidence, and then you can point at the lack of reporting of actual evidence. But to suggest that I think this happens and I'm upset because the press
that's fair, G. Like, how do you prove it didn't happen if you have no evidence that it happened?
I'm not saying like this shit happens every day or 10 times a day or anything. But it has happened.
I know cartels do fucking gross ass shit about 100 miles south of here to people on a fucking regular, and I doubt any of them are fucking Muslims. So maybe some of them are. But I'm just saying, I think that a bunch of shit happens down here that's real fucking violent. Nothing gets reported on. I'm pretty sure there's sex traffic in this country still, and we don't see that getting reported on either. So I mean,
there is.
We started talking about this with Obama.
A giant hub for that.
All right. Well, I say never. I just said as often as it exists. And I'm saying that we started this with Obama and his attitude towards the Muslims, and in Trump's attitude towards the Muslims seems to be much more fuck them all, let's not do anything with them until we figure this shit out, where I don't believe the opposite, or that Obama was the opposite, let everybody in. I think Obama, from what I understand, and I'm definitely not justifying fucking Obama here, but from what I understand, just to be fair about it, he was trying to say, how can we fucking ever hope to communicate with this portion of the fucking globe that has this like shared language and culture and religion and everything else, if we never had any of them fucking over here in our melting pot? If we tell them all fuck off, then we're looking from afar, and we never actually incorporate them into our shit and learn their shit. We're never going to have valid feet on the ground over there if we don't have people that have their roots here.
No, G, but here's my thing, right? Is I read an article, and this is about the Syrian civil war. Now ISIS is rolled into that whole thing, right? And that was my take on, like, when Obama is saying these sort of things, like, well, we have to go help them. It's our obligation to help these people, and helping these people will give us, and his argument, right? Part of the argument is, well, if we help these people, it will give us better goodwill in the Middle East in the future, because then these people won't want to be terrorists or whatever bullshit. I was reading this article, I don't know if it was Time or who it was. It was like, oh yeah, this is Mohammed Joshmo, and he's fighting ISIS and as a rebel or whatever. And he said something along the lines of, well, when I'm done fighting here, I'll remember that America didn't come help me, and I'm gonna have a grudge against America too. And that's when I was like, fuck all of them. It's not my job to help them. I'm not obligated to help them. Our country's not obligated to help them. They can all fucking rot. And if you're gonna hold me hostage by saying, if you don't help me, I'm gonna be your fucking terrorist, like, fuck you, good fucking luck, right? Whereas Obama's viewpoint was like, we have to go earn this goodwill. It's like, we don't have to do shit, man. And that's the difference between Trump and Obama. But the media then has this spin. You're like, it must be because you're a racist. It's not because I'm a racist, because I don't need to go fucking help everybody.
No, I mean, we were paying money to Iraq on top of the money, obviously we invested in that country when we invaded, occupied it, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, there were countries we're paying money, Egypt, all these other countries, we're giving them shitloads of millions, if not billions of dollars that we're paying them. And especially in Afghanistan, they're paying these people not to attack us by giving them money and to the local country. But where's that money going? To the country itself, and it's filtering itself away to these people that are eventually getting it. And there are several countries that they were doing that shit. They're like, stop giving these people fucking money. You're paying them off not to attack you, or at least the locals.
Yeah, it's like moral. It's you're basically paying your own hostage ransom, right? Because if you don't pay them, they're going to be terrorists. It's like you're hostage. You're paying your own hostage ransom to the terrorists. It's fucking retarded.
That last big ass payment they gave to Iran, I forget how many fucking millions of dollars it was. And they're like saying, well, we had to, it was an obligation we had to from over 10, 15 years ago. What would have happened if we told them to go eat fucking crow, pound sand? We're not going to give you shit because I feel like it. And because you're a state-sponsored terrorist country.
So yeah, and that's the thing. The whole tone between and G, I mean, it's your normal point. You know, over the last year is the whole tone between how the media treats anything Trump does versus anything Obama did. Anything Obama did, they assumed it was the greatest shit, and even if you had like overwhelming evidence, it was horseshit, like Fast and Furious. It was the greatest thing ever. And if there was something like, say, birtherism, it was said with the tone that this must be retarded liberal or conservatives being conspiracy theory tinfoil hats. Whereas on the flip side, anything Trump does must be because he's a racist and it can't have any logic to it. And if there is some wild conspiracy theory, it must be totally true. He must be owned by Putin. And you're like, that's fucking horseshit. Like, you have as much evidence there as we had about birtherism. Like, what the fuck, you know?
So I just want to go on record saying that in 2015, Dearborn, which I think you guys all know has a very high Muslim population,
For my dad's
actually it is like 28% foreign-born people, where Michigan's average is like 6. So that's, you know, per whatever, like per capita. They had 1 murder in 2015. They had 2 murders in 2014, 2 murders in 2013, 1 murder in 2012. So if any place was going to have honor killings, it would be there. And obviously they don't even have very many killings at all.
My point earlier wasn't necessarily about Muslims in general. It's the Middle Eastern communities that do it. There's also Indian people that that I've heard reports of. Again, I'm not stipulating that as like a known fact, but it's not just Muslims. There's other people that have these issues with people integrating within their culture or their family.
I think, and it's not necessarily even Muslim culture or Middle Eastern or Persian culture. I think there's a lot of this in a lot of cultures that are just far more conservative than the West. You even can get it from like Asian cultures and stuff. I think the topical thing of the era now is the Middle East, you know. But you can get all sorts of weird like family honor shit. But again, I'm not saying it happens a lot either. And to your point, Smeggy, and I'm not one of the people like, oh, they're Muslim, they must be bad, they must have murder. Like, the point is just that the media treats everything that one side does as bullshit, no matter what it is, and the other side must be, you know, fucking sunshine and rainbows, no matter what it is. And then
I agree, being blind to one side is bad. I just think that it was one of those things. I wanted to jump in earlier, but I wanted to make sure I knew what the heck I was talking about.
I think that's I like facts, and I agree.
So that's why I wanted to look that up, and it took me a while to find what I was actually looking for.
You know, but it's just everything gets blown out of proportion by the media, or you know, nothing in the media is unbiased, right? Just like the Muslim immigration ban, it was 7 countries. Meanwhile, on Facebook, I have people being like, "Oh my God, well, my husband is a Bosnian Muslim." It's like, well, great, he can be a Bosnian Muslim. That's not one of the 7 countries that was an issue. You know, the states that were specifically banned were states that have Boko Haram or Houthi rebels or Al Qaeda or ISIS or, you know, Muslim Brotherhood or whatever fucking terrorist group you want to name. But then the media spins it like, well, Trump must be a racist against Muslims, even though Muslim's not a race, it's a religion. Middle Eastern is a race. Persian is a race. You know, Baltic, you know, person, you know, that's a ethnic group, you know, Serbian ethnic group, whatever, you know. But it must be because you're a racist, you know. And they say these things, and they say these things with such untruths that they're just a step away from a lie. But people eat this shit up, and I hear this shit like all the time, like work at the break room or in the cafeteria or whatever, and it's just like the sort of thing where like, okay, I get, you know, I don't agree with everything Trump does. He wasn't my candidate. Like, I wanted fucking Rand Paul for like 2 years. I didn't get that shit, you know. But then at the same time, it's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And if you do, you're being willfully deceptive. And that's the thing that, like, already we're a month and a half in, and I'm like, how do we combat this willful deceptiveness? It's just going to tank everything even us tried to do, right? Like the Social Security ban, you know, the putting people from Social Security on the NICS check because they have their like money handled by like an heir or something instead. It's like, that's something that is important to us, but already the anti-gunners have jumped on it and are being willfully deceptive, saying they want to sell guns to the mentally ill. It's like, when was the last time your like 90-year-old grandma was the fucking shooter in the mall? You know, but they say these things with such a spin that is willfully deceptive.
Well, and that's one thing that actually I like to see about the Social Security thing was that, like, the NRA, you know, whether they're just trying to take credit or not, whatever, but you know, it was obviously something that they're happy about. But it says that they work together with the ACLU and the, I don't know, Department of Mental Health or something, like some other, like, you know, organization that is for people like with mental disabilities. And at least from that point of view, what they're saying is, you know, there's a stigma if you have any type of mental illness, therefore you must be violent and dangerous or whatever. Like, and they're saying that's not right. Like, it's not okay to say that. Like, even some people, they may have some, you know, mental disability or something, but it doesn't mean that they're bad people. And I've used this example before. My cousin cannot handle money. He doesn't understand how it works. He has a job, he works, he gets money, you know, and he has a house and he buys stuff. But like, he was a grown man. He's married now, but like before he was married, as a grown man, he's my older cousin. His parents took care of his checking account for him. He just couldn't do it. Now, would I trust him with a gun? Hell yeah, I would. Because he's a normal person. He just has one little thing that doesn't work right. And he doesn't understand when you spend money, you don't have money anymore. Like, you only have so much. He thinks, oh, I got money, I can just buy stuff. And he was buying jet skis and credit cards and all this shit. And he's like, I must have the money because it went through. And he didn't realize that that's how it works. But
how is he buying credit cards?
You know, he's an older dude. I'm a kid, then I got a savings account and shit. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why does he not get that? My mom had to explain it to me. Like, it just doesn't quite work the same way. But someone like him would certainly be included in that list because for a long time, like his paychecks and shit, his mom or his dad cashed for him.
Well, I want to turn to change subjects here, but let me ask you this. What do you guys think about when France banned burqas?
I think that's a violation of freedom of religion. You shouldn't be. And that's the thing where.
Well, real quick, does France even have a thing that says they have a freedom of religion?
No, but that should be.
Okay,
I think
then it doesn't
a human right, right? That's part of your civil and human rights.
No,
now, because they don't have a constitution. Yeah, I think that's bullshit. But you know, Great Britain doesn't have a constitution. And I still think their gun laws are a violation of their people's rights. So that's. Well, just because it's not written down on a document like the United States has doesn't mean they don't have those rights.
No, it actually specifically means they don't have those rights. You only have the rights that your government gives you or you're willing to go after via whatever
you want to. That's wrong. You're right. No. That's the whole point of a right. Otherwise, it's a privilege or an entitlement granted to you.
All right.
The whole point of a right is
to exercise a right without the ability of to use it or to do it. Like if your government comes in and says, I'm going to put you in jail for doing this, you just don't have that right then.
No, they're violating your right. But a right, by the essence of the word, is something that is yours, inborn by your own nature. Right? Either if you're Christian, given to you by God, or if you're anybody else, you don't necessarily have to be Christian. It is a property of your own being. Right? Of my own being, I have the right to defend myself, provide for myself, seek happiness for myself, and worship whatever I believe I should. Well, then you have, those are like human rights. Then you have civil rights. And civil rights are things inborn to you by the nature of your relationship with government if a government is just. Like I have the right to vote because my own right of self-determination, I have created a government but I still have the right to control it through voting.
But if
A
the
right is
country you
your own.
live in,
if you
does-
violate that, you can violate rights. That doesn't mean that
I want to bring this
rights
up.
don't exist.
if the country you live in does not recognize those rights, then do you really have those? So is what
Well,
Flippy's
they're
saying, I think.
oppressed or
You don't.
violated, but that's still your right. You know,
It isn't
you
your
still have
right.
a right to defend yourself. They may not acknowledge it. They may repress
I wanna
it
bring-
or violate it. But you still have that right. It's inborn by your own nature. Nothing is granted to you by your government.
One of France's biggest framework behind it, again, I'm not advocating it, I'm just bringing it up, it's because they said that with people covering their faces, you can't identify them if they do something, whether it's walking the dog, playing in the park or whatever the kids, and something happens, you can't identify them because their face is covered, depending on the severity of the burqa, how they cover themselves.
And maybe they could say, there's a burqa ban and saying you got to show your face. Maybe they could have a burqa with showing your face. I don't know. And that's one of those like gray areas where people.
Yeah, because that's what they were
argue
doing
over.
with the girls at the beach. They were wearing the burkini or whatever, which showed their face, but everything else was covered up. And they were like, no, you got to take that off. And personally, I think that's bullshit. You can't tell people what they're allowed to wear. I think that's bullshit.
So are you telling me
absolutely can tell people what they can and cannot wear if you are the government and you are in control of the laws.
if I want to wear Speedos to the beach, you're going to tell me I can't?
No,
I
Ed,
won't tell
your
you
body
you
is
can't.
gonna tell
I'll
you
look
you
away and I'll
I can
cover my
kindly
children's
request
eyes.
that you
If you saw me in Speedos, you'll tell me I can't.
Leopard print Speedos? But you can't see the leopard print because they're all sucked in?
You gotta contain the giblets. We don't want anything slipping out, showing brains. So
If you're all taters, you know what I mean?
but no, I think the essence of that is if you're trying to get people to not practice an aspect of the religion, that's a violation of their rights. That'd be like saying like, hey, you can't wear, like a nun can't wear a habit. That would be bullshit.
Okay,
and that's where I kind of disagreed with Trump's, immigration ban, where he said there was like exemption for like oppressed people. Like, I think the intent of the executive order was that like Coptic Christians could still come here. And for me, it's like brutal, but my point of view is like, my whole point was like, it's not my job to take care of these people. And brutality in the sense of like, you're on your own is part of my game. And fuck the Muslims, fuck the Coptic Christians, everybody else from that area. I can't tell Joe from Mohammed and who's a terrorist and who's not. So fuck all y'all. And that's where Trump got himself in trouble, because then they go to the courts and they say, well, you're discriminating based on religion, and they strike it down. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Not to counter your argument, but to say the same thing is, and I know we have a lot of freedoms here in the States, obviously, that we're afforded. But if you were to wear a cross around your neck in Iraq or Iran or Yemen, and would you expect to have tolerance for you?
No, not at all. That's the difference, right? I mean, I'm not there. We have that
That's what
respect
makes
of our
us
rights.
better
Now
than
their rights are being violated. I'm not denying their rights are being violated. My point is just, I live in America. Here, it's my job to take care of me, my family, my neighbors, my friends. Fuck those guys. I don't care about what they are, what religion they're. Fuck those guys. That's my general opinion. So the idea that Trump's executive order was like, well, we're going to save these people, but not these people. We can't tell who's a terrorist and who's not if you're Muslim, but we can tell you're not a terrorist if you claim to be Christian. Like, how the fuck are they going to know you're Christian or not? They gotta have you like, recite a prayer or something. So that's where I thought that whole executive order was bullshit, but not the reason other people did, where he's saying, oh, he's being racist. My whole point was like, fuck all of them, not, oh, let them all in. I was like, oh, fuck all of them, So I think there's a difference there.
You're going to smell your armpits.
That's bad. But anyway, so I that's where like everybody's like overblowing all this shit out of proportion. But like I said, on the flip side, people thinking that, oh, my friend from France who's Muslim won't be able to come here for their vacation. No, they're fine. They're not from Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, wherever. You're fine. Like I have people in town this week for work. There's a big conference, and these people are like from like Great Britain, and they're not even Muslim, and they're like, oh, I'm afraid to travel around. Like, is immigration gonna stop? Like, what do you think is really happening? It's straight up propaganda at this point that has so many liberals and uneducated scared that what the fuck do you think Trump's doing? This is ridiculous.
Carlos, who made to calling that. Did you see that video of that Marine that went viral? He was a contractor.
No, I didn't.
Well, he made a video and it went viral. He actually had to be removed from his contract in, I think it was Afghanistan or Iraq. I think it's Afghanistan. Again, I don't know I'm for certain. So he made a video where he's like, you know, he wanted the initial ban, what do you want, the Trump ban, what do you want to call it? And he said he was talking to some of the local people in his area, and he asked them, they were all talking smack, you know, fuck Trump, blah, 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 Trump, this, fuck, you know, the West and so on. And he asked me, let me ask you this. I'm a contractor, right? I'm doing this thing. What would happen if I walk in local village without my associates and unarmed? They're like, the locals would kidnap you right away. And you'd probably be beheaded in hours.
Cutting your head off on a YouTube video or something in a day.
And it'd be on a YouTube video pretty soon. And these are locals. These aren't extremists, ISIS. These are locals. And then he told them, because they were explaining their disdain for Trump in the States, in the Western, whatever. And he asked them, well, let me ask you this. If the locals are going to do this to me, why would I want to let them in my country? And again, this is my point of view. It's what he meant, and it did make some sense to me. I was like, well, you got a pretty good point there, and it went viral, dude. It got like 1 million hits like in less than a couple of days, and it went super viral. And again, he was pulled from that assignment because of worries about his safety after that.
Yeah, because if they see it on YouTube, they're gonna be like, "Hey, you're that guy talking smack, and now we're really gonna kidnap you."
No, he went out on a mission and got back from the mission, and there was a plane fueled up, running on the tarmac, waiting to fucking get him out of the country.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing where, like, I hear people talking, and it's just the sheer level of what people have blown this stuff up in their heads to be just defies logic in my mind. And I just roll my eyes. I'm like, you want to talk shit about the president? Fine. Like, Saturday Night Live, ha ha ha. We can all make fun of his hair, or how he talks, or his hands, or, you know, it's going to be huge. I mean, we did that for a fucking year with Human Salsa. But, like, what do people really think is happening? You know, like, I have coworkers who are, you know, Indian descent, but they're straight up Americans, you know, and they're brown. They're like, oh my God, I have to carry my passport around. I'm afraid ICE is going to get me. I'm like, what do you think they're going to do? You're like an American. You're not even an immigrant. What do you think they're going to do? They can't do anything to, like, what do you think is going to happen? And there's just this like level of fear out there where I'm just like, what do you think is happening? And it's not because Trump is doing anything. It's because the media is stirring this shit up. And it just, I'm kind of ranting now, but it just kind of blows my mind. And I just like, don't know how to get through to these people that like, what the hell are you talking about? You know?
I hear you, man, but that video hit hard. Hit home with a lot of people. Like,
well, and that's the other thing. Is like I have a lot of people. You know, obviously we're in Arizona, so I know a lot of people from California, and it's the sort of thing. Like, how do you tell people, you know, especially liberals, where it's like, no, like, I get that you want to help, but you can't, right? That's the thing. Is everybody wants to help, you know, like, oh, but you can help these people. We're the richest, strongest, bestest country ever. Why can't we help these people? And it's like, you really can't help. Like, I don't get how you can get that through to people.
Well,
sometimes.
specifically, you can't help these people because they don't want help.
Yeah,
Can't help what doesn't want
that's their
help.
life. That's what they know, and they don't want what you're trying to sell. They're like, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying. You know?
They're like, we'll take the free aid, but you're not going to tell us what to do. Or even some circumstances, they're like, we don't even want the free aid. We don't care about you. You're the American devil or whatever.
That's the problem. Some of the world doesn't like our way of life.
Oh yeah, I mean that's true.
I mean, I take it back to some of that too, where we've also gone over there and imposed our will. You know, to where like, hey, they don't want us over there. Fine, we'll stay home. Damn.
Well, and that's where I think that some of this stuff, like, you know, that was the fundamental flaw in George Bush's plan, which actually I think his plan actually ended up working out. Obama fucked it, but the fundamental flaw was like, we're going to go over there with a bunch of guys with guns and say like, you're free now, and nobody's going to buy you're free when the guys with guns are still walking around. You know, they're not going to get what you're saying because you're like, I'm free, but you have guns here and tanks and shit. So that fundamentally, I'm sure, fell flat there. But on the other side, you know, George Bush back in like 2004 said
he
that
fucked up when he broke it. Colin Powell told him if you break it, you buy it.
Well, not only that, but the Paul Bremer, right? The biggest problem that if you want to get into like the fuck ups of Iraq, the biggest problem was Paul Bremer de-Ba'athifying Iraq and also disbanding the Iraqi army. So basically put, you know, 1 million people out of work overnight. What are they going to go do but become fucking terrorists? You know, it's just like in America, you put a whole bunch of people out of work and crime rises. Well, their crime was called being a fucking terrorist. So
Americans start bowling leagues. Get it right.
Yeah. So that's that. You know, we can get into like the fuck ups of Iraq, but I distinctly remember, and obviously I'm only in my late 20s, so I, you know, was like 14 at the time. But I distinctly remember George Bush saying something along the lines of like, if we do it in Iraq, the idea of democracy or freedom or people, you know, being free will spread throughout the region. And I think that happened. That happened, you know, 2010.
That was the spring, that spring revolution they had in
the Arab Spring, right? But then Arab Spring got all fucked up, and no one like fanned those flames of democracy, and instead it became like Arab fucking ISIS. You know, Middle Eastern is now more fucked up than ever. You know, I don't know how that shit happened, but it did.
No, you filled the vacuum. You got rid of a horrible dictator who was a piece of shit, but at least he was like, you know, and not to compare to like the North Korean leader. Yeah, he has complete control over that particular region, but he knows better not to fuck with you. He might fuck with the people around him, but he won't fuck with you. And then you double down on him, or you fuck with him, and then like you get rid of him, and where's the vacuum? The vacuum fills, and then you get a fucking 100 dickheads that are leading different outfits and regimes, and not regimes, but fucking all these outfits. I mean, shit. I remember when, you know, the Taliban was
all these little militias, all these little dickheads with their own little like 2 blocks of power, basically.
I mean, majority of them are illiterate. A lot of them are illiterate. That's why, you know, they just follow these other people. But the thing is, with ISIS, man, I remember I watched the first ISIS video when they burnt that dude in the cage.
Yeah. The
pilot,
right?
I was like, God damn, man, that dude can make it. You know, I felt bad about the guy getting lit up on fire, but I watched the video quality. I was like, dude, they got some dudes making some serious fucking videos. Look at the video quality of this shit. I mean, it wasn't just some dude with a fucking camera, you know, beheading somebody. It was like serious quality. They hired somebody to put on there, and they hit the social media and started really getting aggressive.
Well, and that's the real danger of you know, even bringing, and that's the other thing that people are like, oh, well, bring them all over here. You can't like, you know, judge the group for the actions of a few, but then, you know, well, you say the actions of a few gun owners, you know, do that whole thing. It's like we're both one side or the other has got to give on this, like judging the group by the actions of a few or something like that. And I don't know how to resolve that conflict between us and them, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so this dude's willing to set a guy on fire. You let one person like that in here, what are they going to do? You know, throw a pipe bomb in a mall, shoot up a church, do you know, whatever the fuck shit we've seen them do over the past several years.
Well, now they're mowing down people's vehicles.
Yeah, no, run down
that's actually kind of
market.
funny, though. Like, hold on, let me rephrase that, because that came out sounding really dark and screwed up. It's funny because they're not blaming the crime, they're blaming the means in Germany. Yeah, it's Germany, so it's the Christmas market. So now, in the city, they're not allowed to have vehicles weighing over a certain weight.
Wait, they passed that law, or are you just saying that they didn't do that and that would have been the equivalent of gun control?
No, they did. They passed that law. you're now not allowed to drive in that city a vehicle weighing over a certain amount of like pounds or tonnage or whatever.
Kilos.
Well, yeah, and that's the liberal answer to everything, right? No one understands you're not going to change human nature. They're all trying to, pass more laws that will eventually contain human nature. You're never going to contain human nature. If somebody wants to do bad shit to you, and we all agree on this, we're all on gun channels. If somebody wants to do bad shit to you, they're going to do bad shit to you, whether it be with a car, a truck, a bat, Negan style, or a full auto M16 pre-ban 86, like whatever the fuck. Like people have been bashing each other over the head with rocks since the beginning of time. But they always want to try and like box up human nature, like they're going to stop that, or they're going to stop bad people, and they deny the existence of bad people, right? There's always some reason. Everybody's got a story why they were oppressed or why their life was so bad, but no one is ever willing to say like, no, I'm drawing the line here. That guy needs to fucking die because he's a fucking bad person and the world is better off without him. There's like no line they're willing to draw where that's the point. There's always some reason why it's like, we just got to take this stuff away and this person will suddenly be good.
Well, look at drunk driving. They passed all kinds of laws and made it to where your first offense is going to ruin your life. And some people say, well, hell yeah. But they're not stopping anybody from drunk driving because nobody stops you drunk driving until the time you get pinched or you fucking go and wreck your car and kill yourself or kill somebody else. And the numbers have never gone down. Yeah, because, the numbers have never gone down. I remember the numbers. I don't have any fight, but my dad, when I was a kid, my dad was driving us hammered back home. The only reason the old man could drive home drunk is practice all the time. He was fucking. And those people like, you're belittling, all the people who died. No, seriously, the old man was a fucking pro driving home fucking shit-faced. Because he get us home like 30 miles on the other side of town, and because he just did it all the time. And it sounds horrible when people go, oh my God, but seriously, all these kids today are fucking, they don't stop drink driving. They haven't impacted the numbers at all. Because
drinking and driving, well, that changed in Texas in like the 90s? Like that became a law. You weren't allowed to drink and drive in Texas in like the 90s.
Yeah, like open container laws and stuff.
Yeah, the open container thing. Because I remember there was like beer barns.
It changed in like 3 steps, right? Because first they changed the drinking age from, and this is also part of big government coercion. They changed the drinking age from 18 to 21, and then they changed open container laws, and then they changed the DUI thresholds for the blood alcohol level. And that's where I think that's another clear case where I think most of us liberty-minded folks would say government has clearly overstepped its bounds, because no longer are they letting state governments control their own laws because they coerce them with money, right? They say, you will change your drunk driving statutes, which are your domain and state law, or we're going to take away all your federal funding. And you can't do shit about it.
There's a bill here in Washington where they're trying to do that more. They're trying to lower it from 0.08 to 0.05.
Yeah, basically, if you have like 1 beer or 2 beers, like you're going to be, now drunk driving.
They call it buzz driving. You're buzz driving. You're not drunk. You're buzzing.
Yeah, buzz driving.
I'm like whatever.
It's impossible to go
a money grab.
A bar anymore and not have to have a taxi home. Basically, that law would make it.
Right, but they don't understand this again, and people I can understand disagree. Like, oh well, those people deserve what they get. You make mistakes in your life. People made them plenty, and you make them like you shouldn't ruin your career, the rest of your life. To where you can't get a job because you just put you're 18, 19. You did something stupid. You paid your dues. You did whatever it is. You can move on. But the thing is, and again, the numbers are not going down if they're having arrest. If not, they're almost increasing. Because they can't stop people from doing it because they don't realize it until the shit hits the fan, they get pinched, or they fucking kill somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's like in Arizona, any level of blood, any blood alcohol level when you're under 21 is a DUI. Do you think a 19-year-old is thinking about that, or are you just going to fuck up his life for forever? No matter what the actual outcome was. So, but the point is that's the sort of thing where they're trying to legislate at a national level around human nature. And it's like, you're not going to change human nature.
We had the attorney general or the fucking was it the city in San Antonio, and she was all about that fucking. If you refuse a breathalyzer, they get a magistrate to get a blood test out of you. It's a mandated blood test. Like that's against the Constitution. It's illegal.
I think it's worse in Arizona. I think if you refuse a breathalyzer in Arizona, that's like equivalent to like resisting arrest, and then they'll do the blood test anyway. Like there's an automatic sentence if you refuse a blood test in Arizona, I think.
Yeah, if you breathalyzer, they'll get a magistrate to issue a warrant to draw your blood, which illegal seizure, I believe.
Well, if they're issuing a warrant, it's a process, right? But the point is, like, here in Arizona, if you have, like, you can resist, what you're saying there is, like, you can resist, you can say, no, I'm not going to take the blood test, you're not searching me, and then they'll get a warrant from an actual judge. I think in Arizona, if you say, I'm not blowing into that fucking machine, that is, like, resisting arrest or something, then they'll get the blood test anyway, and they'll charge you with resisting arrest or obstruction of whatever the fuck.
If it's what it is here, I don't know if it's resisting arrest, but it's an automatic. That's Rick, I believe.
Everybody mute. I'm not talking to you. Thanks.
Yeah, like here in Washington, I know just from experience when I was a youngster, if you refuse a blood test or if you refuse the breathalyzer, it's automatic 1 year suspension of your license. They may have passed the legislation you guys are talking about where they can actually get a judge to.
No, there was no legislation ever passed. This is something that district attorney, local district attorney, got support behind, and she was doing that and getting a magistrate to issue a warrant to.
Well, at least they're issuing a warrant and just not like arresting you and doing it anyway. You know?
Well, then it's still illegal by the U.S. Constitution.
Not if they suspect you of a crime, which is the drunk driving.
Well, they can't draw your blood without legal right, without you agreeing to. They can't draw your blood.
But that's the point of a warrant, though, right?
When you
That's
get
the point of a search warrant.
you say something in your driver's license, like, I know what the law of the land is, dude, mute that shit. It's wicked echo. When you do your driver's license, you're signing a thing that says, I agree to this procedure, pull over or whatever. Thanks.
I just did it because he was echoing. I didn't mean nothing against you, Rick.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure and I just did my traffic school, so I know all this. I had to sit there listening to it, but I can't remember any of it right now. But I don't drunk drive, so I guess I just blew it off. But it's something like what you're saying. I thought it was like that, like what he's saying, though, in Arizona, where if you refuse to blow in the thing, like on the side of the road, then is automatic suspension for a year, and they put you in handcuffs and take you to jail. Then they draw your blood. So I guess the strategy is like, if I'm drunk as shit in the side of the road, I'm going to not blow the thing, and then I'm going to wait until I'm in jail, and then you'll have less blood alcohol or something. That's why they pull your blood, I think.
Yeah, most people who refuse to blow are trying to, get an extra hour or two on, to clear, so that, like, okay, well, if I was a 0.8, maybe it'll be a 0.6 and I'll pass or something like that.
Well, right. because here, when it happened to me, if you can refuse on the side of the road, but if they arrest you and take you in, and then you refuse, because the one on the side of the road is not admissible in court. It's the one down at the station that is dialed in, and there's records of it. It prints out records and all that. That's the one that here you're not allowed to refuse. Or if you refuse it, it's an automatic 1 year suspension of your license. But I don't know about the other part where if they can actually get a judge to sign off and then automatically take your blood alcohol level anymore.
In the state of Texas, they can't, like, any other city won't do that. It's only in San Antonio when they do it. They call it the DUI weekend or whatever. And if you're pulled over, you'll be forced to take a blood test. You can no refuse a blood test, and they even advertise on the school signs, on the lit up signs, that tech signs on the fucking highway. And Susan Reed was a big proponent of it. They were she was doing that, and one lawyer contested her. She was on the show once. She's like, You know, it's unconstitutional for you to withdraw people's blood. It's illegal seizure. It's like, I don't care. The people of San Antonio are behind me, and let me tell you, she's a big fucking lush. She was hammered all the time. They had to hire a fucking driver to drive her around because she was fucking couldn't stay sober, you know, more than 2 hours at a time. And she was doing that, and they were and the police were obviously having to endorse her or request that, you know, that they were doing it. But the thing is, like, oh, you have the right to refuse a breathalyzer. It's legal under the law, and repercussions because you do so shouldn't be. You know, you shouldn't have to deal with that, and it's always been that way. And again, people do that because, you know, if you refuse a field sobriety test and you refuse a breathalyzer, yeah, you can hopefully pat it off till you get to wherever, and they have no evidence of you being technically drunk because you refuse everything. But yeah, it is what it is. I just don't agree with the whole thing that, oh, well, we know better than you and we're gonna violate your rights.
Well, and even worse than that, like that one, like at least they're going to a judge or magistrate or whatever your county calls it to get the warrant, which, I mean, constitutionally, right, that's a warrant gives them just, you know, they go, they say, we have this cause, you know, he was swerving all over the road and we need to draw his blood. At least there's the warrant there. The one that's really unconstitutional that I think is total bullshit that somehow has stood up to scrutiny in the courts is DUI checkpoints, where it's just like, I'm driving down the road. I've done nothing wrong, but they're stopping everybody on that road, making them blow a breathalyzer. That's horseshit.
Yeah, I've yet to see one of those.
No, I agree. I've never seen one. It's big in like California and other places.
Those sobriety checkpoints, but you don't have to blow no breathalyzer. They just bottleneck everybody down and look at you. And if you're fucked up, I imagine they pull you over and arrest you. But if you're normal,
theoretically they can make anybody checkpoints do anything, right?
No, I don't like them either. They freak me out because I'm just driving normal, and then all of a sudden there's these flashing lights. It's just, you're gonna drive. I drive weird because I'm not used to being bottlenecked into, like, you know, a little weird thing.
I like tense up, right? You're like, do I stop? Do I go? Where am I going? What the hell's going on? And you're like freaking out, you know?
I've seen.
But the thing is, they're always on like New Year's or freaking, what's the other one?
Busy time.
St. Patrick's Day and shit. 4th of July, maybe. Not 4th of July. Whatever the ones, drinking ones are. And so usually you're out having a drink or something. That's what bugs me. Like, you could be out having a drink, or you knew you were driving home, so you stopped drinking a long time ago. But you know what I mean? Then you got to drive through all that flashing bullshit. That's not the same as just driving home and normal situation driving home. That's kind of artificially fucking with everybody. And anyway, I don't like it. I think it's
legally, depending on the state, they have to put a sign that says you have the right to turn away. But the problem is they put that sign.
They put it in eye shot, and then as soon as everybody turns around, they go get you.
No, not even that. They put the sign as your
bottleneck
checkpoint. They put like somewhere like in words of 20, 30 feet inside the checkpoint. So their argument is you entered the checkpoint knowingly. Well, the sign said I could turn around. Yeah, but you're inside the checkpoint. Well, legally, you have to put the fucking sign outside the checkpoint. And then, yeah, if you turn around, they're flagging you down, you know, getting your ass. And they get away with it all the time because it's just this thing that, you know, it's a fucking money generator for the local municipalities.
Yeah, I need an ACOG.
For what?
For my 14.5 gun.
So did you not get one of those? I thought you were talking about getting one of them a long time ago.
An ACOG? I was thinking about it, and then I pretty much decided that I want one.
You get one at least, so you don't feel so bad when you don't like it?
Yeah, I'll just throw it up on tax swap and trade it for something else.
So Flippy, given like the price and the cost and kind of what it does, I get the cool factor. But why not like one of the like 1-8 or 1-6, you know, the Trijicon or the Loophole, the Primary Arms or whatever, the like variable power ones. I feel like those have like a little bit more flexibility for the same price and weightish, you know, on the gun.
You know what's funny? I remember Joe was going to bring me the gun trains. that because I remember ACOGs were expensive and they've all never been inexpensive, and they were the hottest shit ever. And then all of a sudden you see people transitioning to these low power scopes. Low power scope, aim point, and then low power. Oh, I remember what's the other one?
EOTech.
EOTech was the shit ever, and then everybody changed your aim point. And then ACOGs were if you could, if you had the money. And then now you see a lot of people getting into those low powered scopes that are that can have a little variance to them, and that's like the newest thing ever. The gun trends are always just it's funny how the wave goes, man. Now everybody has like I got one too. I'm guilty of it. Of a low-powered scope, that can pick up targets at a small distance and reach out a little more. And I see that a big trend. Everybody's putting going to glass instead of red dots necessarily.
You mean the variable zoom optics?
Yeah, like
like your 1 to 6 or your 1 to 8.
You can thank manufacturers for finally putting out good low to medium power glass finally for that.
My whole reasoning behind it mainly is because it's like the reticle itself that Chevron's built for a 14.5 inch whatever weighted bullet, which I typically when I buy my 5.56 I'm buying that German men's stuff, so it's already calibrated for that, so I don't have to really worry about anything. It's all set up already. I don't need to worry about batteries, and I can do that whole goofy.
Of it?
A what?
What's the perceived use of the gun?
The perceived use is just, for the most part, just bench resting it, popping off rounds every once in a while at something.
All right. I mean, if it's not like you're not going to be my problem with it is it's eye relief mainly, and it's cost. And if cost isn't an issue, then it's just eye relief, and that's only an issue if you're planning on doing a lot of like various distance quick shooting. So if you're going to be doing like some sort of competition or potentially defense use with it, I don't like the reason Edge was asking why things went to non-magnified red dots instead of magnified optics. It's because having a no focal plane issue, you can leave both eyes open. You could be taking out targets at almost any distance. It's like the difference between an SLR camera and a point and shoot. Why not go with a point and shoot? 99% of the time, that's all you need. So with a red dot, you don't have to worry about flipping back and forth between that magnification. You can just shoot way more effectively at close range, where real defense use and whatnot would be used. And then at distance, you still got ability at distance. But with the optical magnified optics, you're setting that rifle up for long distance. And with the focal point or whatever, well, the variables are the same thing. None of them go to 0. They all go to 1 to 4, 1 to something. So you're never going to get true close up. An aim point deals with, or a ACOG deals with that by putting a little notch up on top. So it is, what is a 4 or whatever. So it's a magnified optic, but it's super rugged, and it can, you had to jab somebody in the fucking throat with it, it'll kill them like it's like a part of your gun should. So I'm okay with it there, but it's got the basically iron sights up on top, so you can use it close in. It's just that I wouldn't handicap myself with that over an aim point or something nowadays. But if you're using it for mostly on the bench, and it's not like defense was your first goal, and you got the cash for it, then yeah, they're super rugged and they fucking are cool.
I get where you're saying there, but they do
that whole thing.
Bend on aiming or whatever, and I've actually tried it. I was
What's
pretty
that?
impressed. Bend and aiming, you know what I'm talking about, where you look through it and it transposes the reticle with the other eye open.
I was about to bring that up. You can do that with an ACOG. Like, I was playing with one and I was able to do it. It's like those old optics
It's
that
a both eyes open technique is all it is. So.
Yeah. So you still could do that.
Here's my thing. And so I have a like an aim point. And to G's point that you can kind of get like a lot of different distances with the aim point. I see a lot of people, and this is like the online bullshit. They're like, oh yeah, I can make hits out to however many hundreds of yards, like 350. I'm like, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I wear glasses. Who can actually see the shit out that far? Like, can you actually see unmagnified? Like, I know people like can sit there and bench rest with irons and hit steel, but like, what like normal human beings can actually see that? Like, I can't fucking see my target well enough to get like a solid sight picture on it, let alone make like solid hits consistently to like 400 or 300 or whatever magical distance that I just can't see for shit without a magnified optic.
Where we shoot, we have 2, 3, 4, and 500 yard ranges, and then the 2 is like chickens, the 3 is pigs, the 4 is big turkeys, and then the 5 is rams and a big steel gong. And with a red dot on a 14-inch barrel, we can easily peg all of that shit. So to answer your question, yeah, you're not going to see like how many fingers somebody's holding up at 500 yards, but at 500 yards, that's cover fire. That's keeping somebody inside a window, keeping somebody in a vehicle being pegged. So it's not, with the magnified optic, at least you can do something more with that. But with the red dot, it's just keeping cover fire down, which is all you're going to effectively do with a 14-inch AR anyway. You're not going to put effective hits down there unless it's like a bolt gun or, you know, long-range gun. But set up a long-range gun for that. Shit, make it 308 and get a bolt gun.
And those are suddenly in vogue too, right? Like the 308 ARs are in vogue now. So,
well, I said bolt, but yeah.
But either, I mean,
not suddenly so much as suddenly there's machine shops that are capable. For the longest time, you only had 2 options for ARs in 308, and that, well, for 1 option for the longest time. Then you had like 2 main options with maybe 3 variable companies making shit, and now there's actually companies making stuff. So you got that going for you. Plus, I think with the influx of shooters in 2013, we've got people who came around and then left, and then you got the people who stuck around. And what happens when you stick around in guns? You start to like more different kinds of guns, right? So I think there's more people buying 308 nowadays too. There's more about shooters.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people since Sandy Hook, and they're just like, I got into guns. And I ask them what got them into guns. They go Sandy Hook. I was like, oh, another one of you guys. It's not a bad thing. It is just, it's a phenomenon that actually exists.
Like not just Sandy Hook, but just
everything that happened around
in general, like all of it added up. And for like I've had the same experience. Obviously, like I've had friends who I wouldn't say were anti-gun, but they were just kind of neutral meh about it. And then it was like, hey, do you want to help me like pick out a gun to buy? And you're like, yeah, sure, So I do like that too, and I think that does drive the market a lot, right? Because they just like the market's this much bigger, we have this many more people to sell to, so they do take risks like these 308 ARs that are now more popular than ever with 5 different manufacturers making reputable ones.
Yeah, I give up on trying to play Siege. It keeps like crashing really hard.
Yeah.
So.
Is it your drivers?
I don't know what it is. Like it's just I'll try to load into a. Well, no, it's just like I'll load into a game. Like the last one crashed while I was loading into a game. It's like you have 2 seconds left, and then just froze on that.
Do any of you guys have a Mac when you're on like using Mac on gun channels?
Well, Hashtasim probably does, but it's the only person I can think of that uses
it. Since the gun channels changed that like the chat interface, every once in a while when I log in there, it hangs up my Mac. I'm like, what the hell? Runs fine everywhere else, and then like as soon as that changed, it like gives me the pinwheel of death. I was trying to figure out.
You actually task manager it and like see what's going on there, or is it just like full lockup?
It's only the Safari window, and it gives me the pinwheel in that window. Once I kill gun channels, maybe I get in and out of gun channels like 2 or 3 times. It works, but it's just like something with the new chat manager. Just it doesn't like.
That's happened to me a bunch, and I use Firefox on a PC, so it's not just you.
Is it still doing it?
Yeah.
It did it when I got into Matt's chat earlier. I had to like get in and out of the chat like 3 times because it locked it up.
Got the
almost dead.
going in the back.
Dispatch, guys. Just root for me. Give me some encouragement.
I don't know what you need encouragement for, but whatever it is, you got this.
I'm almost done with the big batch of brass depriming. Just my arm's getting tired here. I don't know how the old ladies do it at the casino.
They're old. Are you doing it on single stage of sounds?
Yeah. Luckily, I'm just doing handgun right now, but it was a big batch.
Well, I know how it is.
Hey, Flippy, you there?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, I'm a man of honor, and back last year, running up to the election, I gave you a lot of shit about Trump. Called you all sorts of bad names. And I just got to say, I haven't seen you since then. You're normally just in Matt's chat. I was wrong, Flip. You were right. The Trump train came into the station.
That's okay. I'm not perfect. I'm wrong too.
Yeah, that's the new Flippy. Get used to that.
Yeah, I can't believe there wasn't a "I told you so" or anything.
Trust me.
This is the calmer Flippy that happens when Trump is the president.
No.
It's the more rational. Read again, Trumpy. Trumpy.
We'll go with that, yeah.
I'd say I'm a lot more rational about things.
When Democrats aren't in power, I think all of our nerves are just a little bit more smooth.
There's no more mojitos to fuel him.
I also give God quite a bit of credit for a lot of that too.
I heard that mojito.
Oh, that was delicious, delicious. Man, I'm so tired of water.
Can always drink juice. Just saying.
No, I can't.
What? Can't? You got something?
Can't.
Like you can't do it?
Just can't do it. Can only drink water.
It's too flavorful. Too much goodness going on there. I can't be having that in my life.
It's got electrolytes.
Yeah, dude. Plants love electrolytes.
Water, like from the toilet?
I still love that movie.
I'm glad you at least got that.
Oh, yeah.
I just watched it a few weeks ago.
It used to air like every weekend on
IFC,
Comedy Central channel.
It was on Comedy Central? Damn.
Oh, yeah. They aired that movie like every weekend.
Yeah, I saw it on IFC a bunch for like half a year. What's going on, Scotty?
Not much. Another day. How you doing?
I am doing the dream. Not just living it, I'm doing it, boss.
Yeah, I'm going through closing tabs, and I just fell onto my H&K G28 tab, and I'm just sitting here in awe. I do really like that rifle. That is one pretty 308.
Is that weird wooden steel gun from like the 80s?
No, it's like the supersized 416. It's the 308 416 with some other shenanigans.
So it's like a 417.
No, because it's like heavier duty than a 417. It's like built to be more of a precision rifle, I guess, than a 417. I think they're actually showing off at SHOT Show this year. Either way, it's a cool gun.
You still have your fake NK?
Kind of.
What's that mean?
That means my dad bought it, but it's at my house.
We don't talk about it.
Right on. At least it's still in the family. Well, fuck, and it's still in your house. So there you go.
Too much HK shame. You just can't bear it anymore.
Nah,
He
I
finally
just-
broke down one and he was like, "You need to take this from me. I will pay you to take it."
Nah, I just hit a spot where I needed money. I still kind of do.
Hey man, I already chipped in.
I know, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like, mad grateful and all that jazz.
Does anybody know what happened to the 416 Barrett?
Which one's that one?
Does anybody know about the 416 Barrett?
Nope. Are you talking about the piston-driven AR that Barrett was making? Or
Oh no, I keep forgetting they had like an M4 type gun. No, it's the cartridge.
I have no idea.
Never heard of it.
Maybe H&K sued them over naming rights.
I don't know if you guys can see this. Like, is it sharing that page or is it all messed up?
I'm not sharing the page. That is one weird looking case.
Yeah, I think it's a 50 BMG neck down. Yeah, right there.
Neck down 2.
416.
416.
Which is an extremely like high ballistic coefficient. Oh, and it puts out like, what is that? 8,767 foot-pounds of energy. Yeah, this is probably my favorite long-range cartridge, but I can't find anything on it. Like, I can't find it anywhere as far as buying any. So I was thinking of chambering a rifle in one. There it is, 50. That's a 50 BMG, and that's a 416 Barrett. I didn't realize it was that much shorter, holy Christ.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Did you ever get into learning how to build 1911s? Like, did you buy all your parts?
I'm not going to be able to afford it.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be. That'll probably be next spring. Yeah, funny enough, it's spring break next week. I didn't realize that until I went in for midterms. I was like, holy shit, it's midterm already. God. I love the 50 BMG, man. Everybody needs to shoot a 50 BMG in their life, otherwise you're doing it wrong. Did I scare everybody out of gun channels again?
No. No, I was asking me a Noveski question.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, is he looking to get repped?
I mean, they're all pretty much the same. It just goes whatever lower he wants.
Yeah, well, his knife's not in here. What's up with that guy?
I was just going to say, tell that turtle to get his ass in here.
Tortuga, aquí. No, I didn't learn that word from Breaking Bad. Damn it, Flippy, I'm deciding what I want to do to that AR now. I've been thinking. Like, I've really been thinking hard. I'm not sure what the hell I'm going to do to it. I'm just also assuming that this isn't some pipe dream of mine. Like, it's actually real, Flippy. Tell me it's real.
That's real.
Okay, cool.
I told you, as soon as like I have the forms and all that jazz already filled out with your sister's info on it, so as soon as my stuff
How
comes
did
back,
you find her fucking name, by the way?
what?
How did you find her name out of curiosity?
You sent it to me.
I do not recall that. That's why I was curious. I was like, damn, that guy's good at finding information. Oh yeah, I don't know if I told you this, but I picked up an Ithaca